Friends and neighbors, the glory of winning at one of the sport's marquee venues and a crucial step towards winning the championship. And 5 drivers within 59 points. That is the closest gap, first to fifth, in the history of the NASCAR Busch Series at this point in the season. Take a look at the starting field for the Little Trees 300. Kevin Harvick, Brian Vickers on the front row. Mike Bliss, one of the Busch Series regulars with a great qualifying run, up in 3rd spot. And kind of the forgotten man in the chase for the championship, Ron Hornaday, driving for Richard Childress in row 3.
So 2 of the top 5 in points in the first 6 positions, first 5 positions actually. And there's Green and Riggs, row 4. Top challengers for the NASCAR Busch Series crown.
Jeff Burton will have to go to the back of the field from that row 6 starting spot because of the driver change and also because the 17 team changed engines during the race weekend. There's Jason Keller, one of the top runners in points. Martin Truex Jr. driving the Dale Jr. and Teresa Earnhardt Chance 2 car here at Charlotte this weekend.
And Dave Blaney trying to run 800 miles today, along with Casey Mears.
Stacy Compton going to come from row number 11. Mike Wallace back in row 12, along with Johnny Sauter, the Richmond winner. Jeff Green, row 14, another one of the 800 milers today. And Jamie McMurray in the race today, back in row 15.
Steve Grissom and outside of row 16, Morgan Shepherd, Corey Gibbs. Stanton Barrett, the last car to get in on time. These are the provisionals.
And the final starter in the field, Jason White. Those who failed to qualify for the race, big list. 52 drivers tried to get the 43 starting spots.
See, Mike Harmon, the 44 car, has been to every NASCAR Busch Series race this year, unable to get in the field.
All right, we're getting set to go. Live, despite the weather's best efforts, Kevin Harvick and Brian Vickers to the green flag.
Vickers is having a hard time there in that restart.
And Vickers has been challenged for 2nd spot by Biffle.
Biffle to 2nd, Vickers to 3rd, Kevin Harvick to the early lead. Mike Bliss is 4th, double wide for 5th, now 4th, as Ron Hornaday goes under Joe Nemechek and comes after Bliss. That's Hornaday in the 2.
Fantastic. So far, so good.
Now Joe Nemechek in the 87 on Mike Bliss. That'll be for 5th place.
But Bliss seemed to get a little bit more grip on that top side than Joe Nemechek did, able to maintain that position, which is 5th.
Just behind them, Michael Waltrip in the 99 being challenged by David Green in the 37. David, the championship leader in the series. And it's Bobby Hamilton Jr. right behind them in 25. Both drivers there, 99 and 25, as we heard earlier, should have, could have, would have won last Saturday's race at Kansas. Waltrip had a flat tire while leading with 5 to go. Hamilton Jr. led at the white flag. His car vapor locked. He got bumped and crashed in turn 1, and David Green ended up winning the race.
And Hamilton Jr. goes by David Green, takes over the 9th position. David Stremian 1, alongside Casey Kane in 38.
Highline looks pretty good. Uh-oh, trouble already.
Trouble. 1 in the wall, it's Hermie Sadler. And the caution flag is out. Hermie started 26th.
We see some smoke where the left rear tire is rubbing the sheet metal. The fence has knocked in against, oh, we got some trouble with the left front. This left front. Pretty serious damage here. Looks like he's going to the garage area.
Yep. That's too bad.
That is too bad.
So Hermie Sadler out, and we're back under green. Kevin Harvick leads. Greg Biffle second. Brian Vickers third. Ron Hornaday fourth. And Mike Bliss is the rest of your top five. Looks like Biffle's getting a little antsy around that lead.
Biffle in the 7 car was fastest in their last practice session here Friday night.
23 and 38.
Thursday night, I should say.
Scott Wimmer in the 23. Casey Kane in the 38. A couple drivers making news lately. Wimmer will take over for Ward Burton in Bill Davis Racing's 22 Winston Cup car starting in Atlanta in 2 weeks and run that car for the 2004 season. I spoke with him. He's very excited about that opportunity.
The 8 car is Martin Truex Jr. The car is owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Teresa.
Jason gets that spot.
Jason Keller moving up. That's 15th place he got, Wall. And that 40 car, that is Jamie McMurray.
And he's been working that high line the whole race, and it's really been working for him. He was one of the first guys that got up there, especially in 3 and 4, and he's been moving forward.
Michael Waltrip about to lose a spot as Bobby Hamilton Jr. goes by him for 8th. Have some great onboard views for you, not only today but tonight. If you'd like to get more of that, check out NASCAR in-car on In-Demand. In-car cameras, virtual dashboards, real-time in-car data, and live team audio. If you got digital cable, call 1-888-SPORTS-IN and they'll fix you up.
Nemechek and Hornaday battle for 4th position. Give it to Nemechek.
'87 car, winner here before, May of 1997. It's the same car that Joe used to win the race at Dover back in June.
Oh, Biffle made a run there on Kevin Harvick. Dave, what's the leader saying?
Well, it didn't look like Biffle wasn't able to get around it because his car was a little bit tight.
Well, it looks like he made a run and the car slid up the racetrack in 3 and 4.
That's what he's been saying on the radio. I'm good out on my own, which he hasn't been really yet. But when I get behind somebody, I can't really pass him because I'm tight. Harvick, in the meantime, radioed his crew and said, can't tell you what's going on with the car right now. It's got so much grip and it's so fast. We'll have to wait and see. Here goes Biffle again.
Yeah, Biffle's trying to work him on the high side and going to get beside him.
Well, that's what the drivers and the fans love about this Lowe's Motor Speedway. 2 grooves. If the guy's on the bottom of the racetrack, just drive it on the outside.
So new leader Greg Biffle. Harvick back to 2nd. Vickers a close 3rd, then a little gap. Back to 4th place Nemechek. And about 5 cars racing for 5th together. There are your front 3.
Wally, the sun is starting to come out here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. I wonder how many of these guys last night started the race with a clear visor on their helmet and did not change to a smoke visor this morning.
Yeah, that's possible, especially as cloudy as it was in the morning this morning. So they may have. Marty.
And that's one of the things that happened with Brian Vickers, the man in 3rd right now. He had to change his visor on the grid, and they changed it to a smoke visor. Good call, BP, because that clear visor would have been a little too much this afternoon.
You know, here's a trend we see, thanks Marty, we see from Michael Waltrip's car. Remember we saw him lose a couple spots in the opening laps, and now as we get laps under green, here comes that 99. That's a long run machine.
And Bobby Hamilton Jr. is right there too.
Dave, what about the 99 car?
Well, that would appear to be exactly correct because right before the race we talked with Bobby Kennedy and he said the car's pretty good and Michael hasn't said anything on the radio, so I think just waiting for it to come in.
You know, we were talking last week about cars that run better on long runs and cars run better on short runs, and someone in the garage here reminded me that the softer springs and shocks you run, the better the car should run in a long run. The stiffer, the better the car should be in a short run.
Michael's car carrying the Three Stooges paint scheme here today, commemorating the 75th anniversary of Larry, Moe, and Curly. I told Michael earlier in the week that if he didn't come on his radio at least once during the day today and go, that he didn't have any guts.
You know, another thing about the sun is going to change the handle on this racetrack.
Oh, man.
This racetrack is very sensitive to sun out, sun in. So there's going to be a lot of people scrambling in the pits here. Whoa, Riggs gets very loose up.
Oh, and Mikey scuffs the wall.
Bounces off the wall.
Come on.
He's trying to hurt Larry, Curly, and Moe, huh?
Yeah.
Why, I oughta.
Yeah. They have pictures on him on the right rear quarter panel. The thing that he hit the wall with or came close to hitting the wall.
I don't see any tire smoke, so.
Let's see.
All right, let's grade this on a 1 to 10 scale now.
No, I can, because I've done this before.
I know.
Oh,
that's a bold move.
Riggs goes up the hill, which moved Michael. Oh, he got it good.
That's good. That's a good hit.
Yeah.
Give
Front
it
and rear.
Give it a 5?
I give it a 5.
Yeah.
It's got a good beat.
He's got a lot of concrete painted on that rear tire, which is nice.
But that was caused by Riggs coming up the racetrack and Michael trying to take evasive action, and at about 150 miles per hour, sometimes evasive action can be a struggle.
But Michael hanging in there in 7th place.
I don't know how long it's going to take for him to get up there on that wall.
So Scott Riggs fell back a spot, Matty.
And he's complaining about a tight race car as the sun's coming out. In fact, he told Doug Randolph, he said on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 3, but it's really tight if I try to work that bottom line.
Here comes the Marines. Underneath Michael.
Bobby Hamilton, that 25 car, and here's a battle for second position. Brian Vickers, 5 on the inside of Harvick.
And he's got it.
And he takes it away. Marty, 5 car looking pretty good.
Looking pretty good, BP. He said early on, I think we're starting off a little too neutral. You want to start your car a little bit loose here because it's going to get tighter the longer you run. But the one thing that's going to help these guys, the sun is coming out. And when that happens here, usually it makes the track a little bit looser. That'll help a tight handling race car. Dave?
And that's what Kevin Harvick is hoping, Marty, because right now his car is tight. That's why he's losing positions.
So Kevin losing a spot. We check back on this race for 5th on back. Mike Bliss and Michael Waltrip going by Ron Hornaday.
And Hamilton Jr. just drives by Hornaday. So the Blue Deuce is struggling now to try to find the handle on this sun-soaked racetrack. Marty.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. came on the radio, guys, and said, I'm a little bit tied off, and earlier I was loose in, so I tried to fix that with my entry into the corner. Wally, you know, if you're loose in, usually that's what makes you tied off. The car's still a little bit too tight for Bobby Hamilton, Joe.
Yeah, well, if this sun keeps coming out, his car is going to get neutral.
So we're looking at about 21, now 22 laps of green flag racing after they cut him loose. So now we're really beginning to see the handling trend show up on these race cars. Greg Biffle's handling well. He's out in front of the Little Trees 300, Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte. 30 of 200 laps now complete.
Kevin Harvick finally got a reading on his car, and it wasn't good. Tight off the corner. They'll try to fix that on the first stop. Matt?
Joe Nemechek finished 3rd in this race 1 year ago. He says the car is a little snug in traffic, but it is really tight coming up off the corner, especially turn 4. They're looking at some adjustments to make. Marty?
Mike Bliss also started a little bit too neutral. His car is getting tighter the longer it runs here, Matt. They were kind of worried about that, but they were very good in happy hour. Only ran for 20 minutes. Dave?
The T word, again, for Michael Waltrip. Tight on the car. They want to make an air pressure or wedge adjustment when he comes into the pits for the first time. Marty, back to you.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in 7th, turning some of the best lap times out there right now. The car a little bit too tight for Bobby Hamilton off, and it's a little bit too loose in. Fix that loose in, you usually fix the tight off. David Green, the championship leader, tied in the center of the corner. As they tested at Atlanta, this car was very good there. Jamie McMurray is making terrific progress. He's up in the 9th position. This car was brand new when they came here this weekend, untested. They've worked hard on it. They've obviously gotten it pretty good.
The 2-car of Ron Hornaday just a little bit tight on this run, his early report, and then he reported back about 15 laps later, still tight. They'll have to make an adjustment when he comes in. Marty?
Jason Leffler doing an excellent job in the 11th position. His car started a little bit loose. It has really come to him in the middle of the run here. They expect it to be a little bit tight the longer they run. Casey Kane in the 12th position. Car just a little bit tight for Casey. Big announcement yesterday. He will stay with Ford for many years to come. Matt?
Casey Kane running 12th, but right behind Casey is Scott Riggs in the 10 car, 2nd in points. His car is tight and getting tighter, fading fast. Doug Randolph told me they're looking at a track bar adjustment, going to shuffle the air pressures to try to free that race car up as it continues to fade, Dave.
The 8 car, Martin Truex Jr., started tight from the center to going off the corner. Now it's gone loose everywhere, so really throwing him for a loop in the 8 car. Now the 57 of Jason Keller, 5th in the championship, only 59 points out coming into today. His car early on, very, very loose. Thought he had a tire going down. He rode it out for a while, decided it wasn't a tire, and now they just have to work on a very loose race car when it comes in. Matty?
After working on the mirror for Jeff Burton, he has climbed all the way up to 22nd. Now they're going to try to work on that very, very loose race car. Matt Kenseth on the radio talking over, making some suggestions on what adjustments to make. They're looking at pulling a spring rubber and making a track bar adjustment on their first stop.
So that about half the field. We've updated you on there. And we check on the leader, Greg Biffle. He's 9/10 of a second up on Brian Vickers. We used the word tight about 100 times in that description of through the field.
And what we're talking about, when the car goes in the corner, when the car is okay, the tires are green. But when the car is tight, the front will just slide across the racetrack. It doesn't get that grip, and it keeps going up the racetrack.
Understeer is a word that the road racers like to use to describe that same condition.
And pretty much the way you get grip on the car when it's pushing, especially when it's coming off the corners, you got to roll out of the throttle a little bit. And that's never any good in a race car.
Greg Biffle, Brian Vickers, Kevin Harvick, Joe Nemechek, Mike Bliss, your top 5 about a quarter of the way in to the Little Trees 300. David Green, the championship leader, coming into today's race, running back in 8th spot. We talked about them having troubles on his pit stop.
Yeah, when I said, watch the left rear tire changer.
The rear.
Now watch, the inspector's going to come over, and he's going to step into the picture here. Left. Okay, now the tire changer drops a lug nut. He's going to look for it. Inspector points. Now it looks to me like he just put that thing on by hand and walked away. Now what is the rule, Alan?
But the rule says when pit stops are made for tire changes, all lug nuts must be installed before the car leaves the assigned pit area.
So it was installed, but it's not tight.
It doesn't say they have to be tightened to a certain torque or whatever. Marty?
I was talking to the crew here, and they said that they did put it on. Stuart Cooper, the rear tire changer, said, I did put it on by hand, and then he did hit it with the lug nut. So they did hit it with a wrench. So everything's fine. That's what he's saying. So
well, I'll tell you what, that's the fastest lug nut wrench job I've ever seen in my life, because I missed it.
He needs to do some of those old Western movies because he was a quick draw.
Yeah.
Well, David Green right now trying to get 7th place away from Mike Bliss.
I tell you what, it looks to me like the changes, whatever changes they made to the 37 car during that pit stop has helped it immensely, because he's trying to go somewhere, trying to get by these guys. 4 cars right in front of him. Let's see, about 6th, 7th, 8th right there. Marty?
And I just talked to Stuart again, and he said to me, just to be clear, the rule says it has to be installed, does not have to be tight. So I guess he threaded it by hand. So.
I agree with him there, but he did not hit it with the wrench. That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't matter. They're legal.
Right.
Kevin Harvick sliding back. Started on pole, losing 6th place to Mike Bliss and 7th place to David Green. So that 21 car struggling here today. And that's something you can't say about them much this season, that's for sure.
No, they struggled last week at Kansas with Johnny Sauter. As a matter of fact, Johnny crashed the 21 car. And we have something very unique going on in the NASCAR Busch Series. We have the points lead for the drivers, but there also is an owner's championship. The 21 car is the leader of the owner's championship.
In the grass.
You're looking...
I'm looking.
It's okay. Yeah, everything's fine. Let's talk about that for just a second, BP, because that's never happened before in the history of the series, which dates back to 1982. They keep different rankings for drivers and owners because at the end of a season, drivers change rides. You go into the next season, they want the owners to have proprietary interest on things like provisionals and so on for their sponsors and that kind of thing. So if you're NASCAR, if you're making the call, and the Richard Childress team takes the owner's points, but say David Green or Brian Vickers wins the Drivers' Championship, what do you do at the banquet?
Well, NASCAR announced this week they're going to put both of them at the head table. They're going to put the drivers and his owner and sponsor and the champion owner and driver.
Who gets the big check?
Well, the driver gets the money from Busch, but the Richard Childress, the owner of the 21 car, would get the top money from the NASCAR Point Fund.
Tough spot. Matt, you got something to show us?
Well, Johnny Sauter back in the 43 car this week. On his entrance to pit road, a lot of teams reminded their drivers, be careful on your entrance. He tries to go around the 86 car, almost misses pit road, goes through the grass, a little bit of water, but that's only the beginning of his problems. He feels like the left front spring has gone bad and just given up. He said it's almost like I'm running bump stops. It's gone so bad. That's one of the reasons why he's falling back. In fact, before the race, Busch Hilton over on the 21 team even made him a set of front shocks just to try to help the handling on that 43 car. They have struggled all weekend.
Hey, Matt, he wasn't penalized for that entry to pit road?
Did not see a penalty, Benny.
Well, that was the rule that they came up with a couple of weeks ago. He violated that rule because he went outside that cone as he entered pit road.
But the ruling from NASCAR Race Control, Benny, was he was trying to keep from crashing into that 86 car, avoiding an accident.
I understand, but the rule was you can't go outside that cone. And I understand where NASCAR is coming from. Yes, he was trying to avoid running the back of the 86 car.
Closing, closing, closing. Here comes Biffle. He was 3 seconds back of Brian Vickers when he passed Joe Nemechek for second place. And now he's not even 3 car lengths back.
And I don't know if that's just because he's faster than Vickers right now or if it's because Brian Vickers has had trouble passing some cars. Mike Wallace, he struggled trying to get by the 4 car. He struggled trying to get by the 26 car of Chad Blunt.
Trouble.
Yellow, we got a yellow, we got a yellow. Got a yellow.
It's the 17. Jeff Burton has gone up in smoke.
Is that bus that's smoking? Yeah, it acted like something was breaking, and then it ended up blowing up.
So instead of being a member of the 800-mile club tonight, Jeff Burton's going to be in the 650 club. Because just shy of halfway, the 17 is up in smoke, and it looks like the first half of his day-night doubleheader is over. Mike Wallace, the first car not on the lead lap, will be the lucky dog pass recipient at this yellow.
And all of a sudden, Mike Wallace is loving that rule.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers are going to favor that rule before now the end of the year.
Yeah, a couple of years from now, they'll say, how did we do without that rule?
Yeah.
Matt, you got more on the 17?
Well, as they were dissecting the motor problem, he came on the radio at one point and said, you know, it just didn't accelerate like it probably should have at the beginning of the race. The car was a little bit tight, but he said it just felt like maybe something was a little amiss in the motor department.
All right. So Jeff Burton on pit road, hood up, and probably not long for the competition today.
Sounds familiar. A little bit of that same thing going on last week.
Did you?
Well, it looks like they're going to push the car. And Jeff Burton is not going to steer. He's just going to get out and go to his motorhome and rest.
Race over.
Oh.
Third caution out. Here come the leaders of the opening of pit road. See if anybody stops. I'm sure they will. And I'm sure they'll all take 4 tires because we got 107 laps to go. 65 lap run, maybe 70.
And the pit stop that they made earlier was made under the green, so that did not count against them as there 3 sets of tires on the caution. Nemechek's in, Matt.
And Joe Nemechek telling Brian Patty, says the car's not bad. It's pretty well balanced, but when I do get behind somebody, it is a little snug. Dave?
They came down in the air pressures before for Greg Biffle. They're going to come down yet another pound for Greg Biffle from where they started. Car's still just a tick free, Marty.
Top of the screen, crew chief Lance McGrew said, I want to force their hand here. We're going to take 4 tires, loose in, tight off for Brian Vickers. They're going to fix that by putting a ½ pound in the right front tire. He wanted to hit pit road a little bit harder than he did last time, and I don't know if he won the race off or not, guys. I don't think he did.
Yeah, I think so, Marty. Just barely, though. But Jason Leffler, it looks like, took just 2 tires and is going to get off first. So let me backtrack on that. Give the 00 the first off pit road.
There's Leffler. And let's see, who did win the battle? Oh, it is Vickers.
That's what I was looking at when I said I think he did. But that 00 car did the 2-tire thing. So Jason Leffler's going to be the new leader while Jeff Burton explains to Matt Kenseth what went wrong. So Jeff Burton out as we go back under green. Jason Leffler now the leader, right side tires only on his pit stop. Brian Vickers is second, Joe Nemechek third, Jamie McMurray fourth. Greg Biffle giving up a couple spots on pit road. He's back to fifth. Then you've got Michael Waltrip, David Green, Mike Bliss, Kevin Harvick, and Ashton Lewis in the 10th spot.
Jason Leffler went down in turn 3, and it just wouldn't stick with those just 2 right side tires. Here comes Vickers on the inside, right behind, trying to take that lead.
Change of plans for Jason Leffler this week. An announcement that Ward Burton is going to drive the Gene Haas Winston Cup car at the end of this season and for all of next. And Jason Leffler is going to run the NASCAR Busch Series for this team in 2004.
And I talked to Jason about that yesterday, and he is looking forward to it. He feels like this car, the 00, is a terrific race car, and next year he can come to Charlotte with a chance to be the NASCAR Busch Series champion. Marty?
I talked to crew chief Bill Engel about the decision to take 2 tires on that last stop, BP. They actually had this planned yesterday. In happy hour, they scuffed in right side tires only, hoping for exactly this scenario. Gave him the lead, but can it keep him out front?
He's got a lot of pressure right now.
Oh, he sure does.
Vickers in the 5 and Nemechek in the 87.
Oh!
Got him loose.
Vickers drove in the turn 3 and just pulled up right behind that 00 and jammed all that air up under the rear spoiler, got him loose, and he chased her up the hill.
That's a good place to do it over there in 3 and 4, because it's a little bit bumpy over there too, so he may be already on the loose side once you're in the bumps. Then when you get somebody to drive up on your bumper, like BP said, it's a yahoo.
Yahoo!
Jamie McMurray after Jason Leffler. That's 4th place. And now Michael Waltrip after Leffler.
And Jason is now saying to his crew chief, Bill Engel, memo, 4 tires.
Please.
Memo to Bill, 4 tires next time.
So new running order, Brian Vickers, Joe Nemechek, Greg Biffle. Now Jamie McMurray, Michael Waltrip. Then you get back to Jason Leffler in 6th, being pursued by David Green in 7th place. Championship contenders, Vickers is leading, David Green in 7th, Scott Riggs back in 13th, Jason Keller 15th, Ron Hornaday 16th. Joe Nemechek's operation with 2 cars in the top 3, the 87 and the 7, as David Green goes by Jason Leffler to pick up that 6th position.
So Jason is saying strong memo to Bill Engel.
So Brian Vickers out in front as we've just crossed the halfway point of today's Little Trees 300 at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. No trouble for Greg Biffle here at Charlotte, about to hit 200 miles. In today's NASCAR Busch Series race, he's out in front of Michael Waltrip by almost 3 seconds now. He's pulled away since we went to that last commercial break. Let's go through the field, Dave.
Al, this is Biffle's 9th start of the 2003 season in the NASCAR Busch Series. His best finish was last week at Kansas. Right now, the car is perfect. The car started out very, very loose, and as it goes to the tight side, it actually is perfect. The 99 of Michael Waltrip, a little while ago, he radioed in worse. They want to go back to some of the setup they had earlier, but the car is still tight for Michael, but it's tight in 2nd place, Marty.
Dave, Brian Vickers driving the car that he won with at Darlington a few weeks back. Loose in, tied off. They expected to be good on the long runs. Car not too good right now for Brian Vickers, as good as it was early on. Jamie McMurray up in the 4th position. His best finish at Charlotte before now, 16th. Looking to do a lot better than that. Has not said a word about the car. A little bit loose earlier. Happy right now. Behind him, David Green, our championship leader. They've been fighting a tight race car all day long. The car has gotten much better in this run for David. Very happy with it right now. Mike Bliss behind him in the 6th position. Car a little bit tight. He says the front end is not cooperating. That means it just won't turn for him in the middle of the corner. Behind him, Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 7th position. They have been fighting actually a loose condition on this run, and when they hit the bumps, it exaggerates the problem, makes the car even a little bit looser. Casey Kane behind him in 8th position, tight off, minor brake chatter when he hits the brakes. That cannot be a comforting feeling here at Charlotte. Dave, I'm out of breath. Please take over.
It's about time. Thanks for sharing the wealth, Marty. Air back to where we started. That's what Kevin Harvick wants. He was spinning out loose, and now they want to get it back to where they began the day, which was a little bit better than that. Matt?
Ashton Lewis Jr.'s climb into the top 10. Earlier in the race, the car was just way too free on exit. His brother Charlie made a track bar adjustment. It has helped, but what it's done is actually transfer that loose condition to the center of the corner, Alan.
Another solid top 10 for the 46. He finished 7th at Dover, 6th at Kansas City as Greg Biffle continues to be out in front of this field. We are just now past the 200-mile mark, and another round of pit stops still to come. Change for 10th. Scott Riggs up to that spot, Matty.
10th does climb into the top 10 there, Scott Riggs, though the patience out the window. His car is free on entry and just pushing from the center off. He is saying we've got to make a significant adjustment on our next stop because this car is just way, way too bad, Marty.
Matt, just for BP's information, the message has been delivered to Bill Engel. No more two-tire stops for Jason Leffler. Car is very, very loose, especially when he has someone behind him and making his second start of the year trying to get a top 10. Dave?
2 adjustments for David Stremme on the last stop. Air pressure adjustment because he was a tick loose. And he also said, I am overdriving turn 3. So he adjusted himself. Now the car is just a tick tight. 57 of Jason Keller. He radioed in, guys, that air pressure adjustment I called for, I'm sorry, it got the car too tight. We've got to free this thing up to go to the end. Marty?
Dave Stacey Compton trying to get 3 straight top 10s here in the 2003 season. He says the car is skatey. That's an official driver word for a little bit tight. When he turns it to the left, just keeps wanting to go to the right. Dave?
The 2 car of Ron Hornaday, they took a rubber out of the left rear, made a wedge adjustment to try to fix it tight off condition. Now he's very tight through the center of the corner. Crew just told me, yeah, we're going to take another rubber out of somewhere. We're really frustrated. And he just got passed by the 19 of Casey Mears, Marty.
Casey Mears going forward in his second race with new crew chief Todd Losey. A little bit tight in traffic, but they have made great progress here on this run. Dave?
He's a lucky dog. He's a lucky dog. Wally, the 4 car of Mike Wallace, was a lucky dog on the last caution. Got his lap back. No changes on his pit stop. Car pretty good for Mike right now. The 8 car of Martin Truex Jr., a little bit loose. First race here, so he's kind of searching for the best line. He's been doing that all day. And, of course, that classic Richie Evans paint scheme on the car, Alan.
Yeah. The yellow paint on that car, officially titled Honey Mud Orange, was carried to 9 NASCAR Modified Championships by the great Richie Evans, one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. Was in pursuit of a 10th championship when he lost his life in a practice crash at Martinsville Speedway. I watched Evans race many, many a night up in New England as a younger man, and boy, he was a terrific race driver. Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte. We're live. The NASCAR Busch Series runs 300 miles for you today, part of a day-night doubleheader. Later tonight, NBC, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, the NASCAR Winston Cup Series with a 500-miler. Greg Biffle is out in front of Michael Waltrip by 2.6 seconds, with Brian Vickers, Jamie McMurray, and Mike Bliss running in the rest of the top 5 positions. Another round of pit stops coming up, maybe 15, 20 laps away. There's Vickers, who will make his Winston Cup debut tonight. Very excited about it, although I don't think when we talked to him about it earlier in the weekend, he expected he'd run both races on the same day, but he is still very, very wound up about making his Winston Cup debut.
So far, it's helped this weekend. You know, it's just more seat time, more practice, more laps on the racetrack. It's good experience. You know, I got a great team on both sides with Hendrick Motorsports. Ricky and Rick gave me a great opportunity of a lifetime. My first Cup races here this weekend at Charlotte. It's been very hectic. It's been real hard, and it's been hard on my schedule. Been real busy and running wide open. But I think as far as on the racetrack, seat time is just better.
I think he's right. There's no doubt that the more laps you can make around a racetrack in these race cars, the better you're going to be.
And I think it takes a little bit of the pressure or the edge off for tonight because, you know, when you come to this race and you race at night and the driver gets, you know, you're waiting all day long to go racing. Now he's got a race under his belt. I think he's going to be a lot more relaxed going into tonight's Cup race, racing today.
What about taking on the extra chore of running these Winston Cup races when you're trying to win a NASCAR Busch Series championship? Is there any distraction potential there?
Oh, yeah, there has to be because, you know, you're getting ready for your future while you're doing the present. and it's got to be very difficult for these guys.
Well, Vickers 5 7/10 seconds behind Greg Biffle as Biffle continues to slog around this 1.5-mile track at top speed. 3/4 mark coming up, along with another set of pit stops. Now, what about Brian Vickers? He's led 4 different times today for 51 laps. He's back in 4th place, 16 seconds behind leader Greg Biffle, and how he got there was trouble on pit road on his stop at lap 159.
Never see the jack coming around, going under the left side, and he gets on the end of the jack. Come on, one pump. But see, it's not, the left rear is not high enough. You see, the car is not high enough. Get the car up so we can get the tire on. See, they could not slide it on. Because we see the front is up 2 or 3 inches off the ground, but the front does come up more than the left rear.
Now, it's not to say that Vickers was going to be in position to win the thing just because of that pit stop, but those 3 seconds that he lost, or 4 seconds that he lost, added to the deficit that he had to try and make up on the leaders.
Yeah, I think he was going to be a 3rd place car, but right now he's in 4th spot. Vickers goes by Brad Baker in the 28 car.
Brian Vickers, you know, talking about David Green, 45 years old, trying to win the title. Here's a 19-year-old that he's racing for the title. Vickers was the Busch Series championship leader going into last Saturday's race out in Kansas City, but after struggling with an ill-handling car, it went from bad to worse. Into the outside wall, spent time behind the wall, his crew trying to repair the car, brought him back out, but he finished in 32nd place, and it cost him the lead in the championship.
I was impressed they were able to get that car back on the racetrack after that crash at Kansas last week. The leader's still leading.
Talking about earlier, you can't have a bad one between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, with 5 drivers in the championship. Yeah, and just to elaborate on that a little bit, if you're racing one guy for the championship and you have a bad day, now you just need that one driver to have a bad day to get back what you lost. When you're racing 4 other guys and you have a bad day, you need 4 guys to all have a bad day, and the odds are just not there.
It's very unlikely, especially the way some of these guys like the 37 car has been running all year.
And here he goes by Hamilton Jr. Moves into 6th. Marty going forward in that 37 car.
He's doing a lot better, BP. They've been fighting a tight race car all day long. And I want to get back to what Alan was saying earlier about David Green coaching people. He was coaching Brian Vickers earlier this year at Nazareth. And then late in the race, he's kind of showing the line out that last corner at Nazareth. I'm sure you've been around that a few times, BP. And late in the race, David was trying to pass young Brian Vickers, and Brian was in his way, right in David's line. He said, you know what? I taught him that earlier this week. I need to stop doing that. And then they went out in the truck in Michigan, and Carl Simmons, one of the old Busch Series officials, stopped him and said, aren't you going to learn you should quit teaching these young guys lessons that you've learned over the years?
It's just his nature, Marty. As I said, he's a nice man. He's trying to help.
Top 5 in the NASCAR Busch Series championship and where they stand in the race. You see Green, Riggs, and Vickers have all led laps today worth 5 bonus points toward the championship. Hornaday and Keller have not. And Vickers and Green certainly going to get the edge on today's performance if they finish where they are now. And there'll be 5 races to go. Next Saturday afternoon, Memphis Motorsports Park, 3/4 mile short track. You'll see it here on TNT. Wally and I will make the trip.
Okay, you guys go ahead. I'll stay in Martinsville.
Should be a good one.
Should be. Great racetrack at Memphis. A lot like the Richmond International Raceway.
Yep. Well, the engine hasn't come apart yet on this 7 car, so
it's still running very fast.
Not even smoking yet.
Nope. And there'll be 11 laps to go when Biffle comes back around, Dave.
Biffle feeling pretty racy out there. He radioed in a little while ago. You know, it's just a little bit loose up off the corner. I can't quite mat it. Eric Phillips, his crew chief, radio back in. Just be careful, please.
Yeah.
Don't be matting it. Just race it.
See the interval growing. Back to 2nd place, Michael Waltrip. Here's a few points at stake for Scott Riggs as David Stremme in the 1 tries to take 13th place away from the 10.
Yeah, he just needs to maintain for about 10 more laps, because that is 3 points that he could lose, and it might be 3 points he'll need.
That's right.
When this thing's over.
Car looking up there. Got in the corner with the 1 car. David got in really good, but just couldn't get it through the center.
Greg Biffle, well out in front of the field. Now it's a question of does it hold together?
Oh, man. Just feel that pressure. Feel that tension. Is this thing going to stay together? I can't even look. Can't even watch.
Oh, Pete.
Got Pete one thing. Look at the monitor at least.
I'm sure he's hearing it on the radio. 9 to go.
Well, we know drama.
9.7, Greg. You're about a half a second faster than Michael right now.
Oh, by the way, that is the engine tuner on the 7 car.
Yes.
That's Mike Borschinger. He's the engine tuner on that 7 car. No wonder he looks like he's torn up inside and out. I couldn't see the face to know for sure if that was Mike or not until he took his hands away.
Now, slower car.
They run up behind Jeff Fols down in 3 and 4, and Stremme tried to get on the outside and finally does and goes by the 10 car. Oh!
No, not so fast.
Oh, Riggs comes back when Fols got loose up in the corner.
That's fun stuff there.
Ooh, not so much fun for that 1 car.
Or the 86 with the big wiggle.
Yeah.
That's a catch-your-breather. So Riggs hangs on to those 3 points for now by holding off David Stremme for 13th place. Hasn't quit yet.
No, still ticking.
And this time we're not talking about fuel mileage either. Greg Biffle.
He's a little loose off the corner, isn't he?
Yep. Greg Biffle has run
6 laps, dude.
8 races so far this season with this team. They got their first top 10 finish last Saturday in Kansas City with a 3rd place run. Kind of
Just led off real easy, just babying it. Only turned about 8,500.
It's enough.
He's got a 10-second lead.
Yeah, does anybody told him he's got a, I guess they told him he's got a 10-second lead.
And he's about 3 or 4 tenths faster than anybody else.
Oh, BP, you know Greg Biffle so well. You think he's going to back off or anything?
No.
He's going to go as fast as that car is going to allow him to go.
Every lap.
As long as it'll allow him to do it. You know, looking at 5 to go, last week we had 2 guys that thought had the race won inside the final 5 laps, and neither one of them took the trophy. Michael Waltrip leading as they came to 5 to go last week out at Kansas City, and leading by a significant chunk.
About like Biffle is now, guess what? Right front tire goes flat.
So Bobby Hamilton Jr. goes by him and takes the lead. They get the restart at the white flag. And Hamilton Jr.'s car vapor locks, and he gets bumped as David Green goes by him. Biffle bumped him, trying to get second. And Hamilton Jr. wound up on the outside wall, and David Green got the win. That was last week.
Okay, 4 to go. 3 to go, sorry.
4.5 miles. Greg Biffle seeking his 2nd win here in Charlotte. And his first of 2003. It'd be his 10th NASCAR Busch Series win if he can hold on.
He's lapped up to 8th place.
Yeah. Well, this is dominating is the word for Biffle's run today.
2 to go.
That'll be 116 laps that he's led.
And I would think these last 2 laps I would not run as fast as I can, because, you know, why put Blaine in that 31 car?
BP, think of what you're saying. Oh. This is Biffle.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Fast. white flag. We've seen things go wrong on the last lap here before. Let's see. Final mile and a half. Greg Biffle took the lead at lap 20 for the first time in this race.
It was about 1964 that Richard Petty was leading this race. About right here on the last lap, blew a right front tire. Fred Lorenzen won.
Well, Biffle can just about coast home from here.
He gets through the corner.
Great job, Eric Phillips. Great job, 7 guys.
Checkered flag. Greg Biffle wins at Charlotte by 12 seconds over Michael Waltrip. A dominating performance today, leading 118 of the 200 laps.
Greg Biffle climbing out of the car now to the cheers of his crew and everyone else here. Plenty of product thrown all over him now. You know, Greg only led one other race so far in the Busch Series this year, and only for 15 laps today, Greg. A dominating performance, but I got to ask, what do you mean by it's blowing up? Because it never did.
Yeah, it was same thing that happened to us a few weeks ago. It started shaking a little bit, and maybe it broke an inner spring, maybe what happened, but maybe not. The thing's still running good. You know, I felt it was down on power a little bit, but I tell you, this CleanX team, they did a great job. These guys really want to win, and I got to thank Winn-Dixie, CleanX, and I guess the Chevy, isn't it?
Jason Keller still in there, just 80 points back. And Vickers moved into that second spot, but he's 36 behind Green. And the way David Green is going right now, he's going to be hard to catch.
Check the final finishing order from today's Little Trees 300. Greg Biffle with his 10th NASCAR Busch Series win.
And 4 of the 5 finishers have got to run 500 miles tonight.
I think a little bit that saves them is it wasn't really hot today, so they really didn't get as dehydrated as you would if the temperature was up.
Ron Hornaday, Scott Riggs, the final of the championship contenders. Lowest finisher, 13th there in Riggs. And you see that not many cars left on the lead lap, just the top 8 at the end of the thing. Only a few cautions in this one. One to finish drying the track at the top, then only 2 cautions in the entire remainder of the race. One at lap 13, one at lap 93. So many drivers put laps down by a very quick leader, Greg Biffle. Joe Nemechek contending for the win.
And he will finish. I was going to say a lot of cars, what was that? 10 cars failed to finish today.
Yep. Heavy attrition here at Charlotte today. Greg Biffle in the winner's circle here at Charlotte.